Hello, friends and neighbors, and welcome back. Every year for my husband and my kids' birthday, I always make them a cake. And this year for my little girl, she's turning 3, I decided to look in one of my old cookbooks and pick a cake that I've not made before. So I chose to look in the American Woman's Cookbook. The original copyright for this book was 1938. And I chose to make a graham cracker cream cake. So I'm going to start by making the cakes first. Into a big bowl, I'm going to put 1/2 cup of softened butter. And to that I'm slowly going to add 1 cup of sugar and cream it together until it's nice and fluffy. Now in this cookbook it has a section for cakes, and then you pick a filling, and then you pick an icing. So I saw the graham cracker cream cake and I decided to make it. And in the fillings I chose a chocolate filling, and for the icing I chose a marshmallow icing. So it's kind of like a s'mores cake. In a separate bowl, I've beat together 2 eggs, and I'm slowly going to add those eggs to the butter mixture. I'm going to do 3 additions of the eggs, so I'm just going to split it into thirds. And once we've got all that mixed together, we're going to set it aside. And in a separate bowl, we're going to mix up our dry ingredients. So to my sifter, I'm going to add 1 cup of cake flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to sift that together. And then I'm going to mix in 1 cup of graham cracker crumbs. And then to my measuring cup, I'm going to put 1 cup of milk. And the recipe calls for almond extract. I completely forgot to get some at the grocery store. So instead, I'm going to substitute with 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now we're going to take our big bowl that has the butter mixture in it, and we are going to alternate adding in the dry ingredients and the milk and vanilla extract mixture. And we need two 9-inch round cake pans. And I'm just gonna quickly cut some parchment paper to fit in the bottom of the cake pan. And I'm gonna spray it with non-stick spray. And then divide the cake batter in half to the two pans. And we're going to bake it at 350 degrees for about 25 minutes until the center is done. After the cakes are done, I'm going to set them out and let them cool. And while they're cooling, we're going to work on the filling and the icing. And I'm going to do the chocolate filling first because it needs to cool as well. I'm going to make a double boiler. So on medium heat, I'm going to put some hot water into a saucepan. And over top, I'm going to put a heat-resistant glass bowl. And the recipe says to put 1.5 squares of chocolate. So I've got the baking, the semi-sweet baking chocolate, and I'm just going to put 1.5 squares of that in there and let it melt. And then to a separate cup, we need to add 1/3 cup of heavy cream and 1 egg yolk and beat those together. And once our chocolate is melted, we're going to slowly mix in the cream and yolk mixture. And once that's all mixed together, we're going to add in 1/2 teaspoon of butter. And then we need to add 1 cup of powdered sugar. I probably should have sifted the powdered sugar, but I didn't. And in the final chocolate filling, I could see a couple little clumps of the powdered sugar. There wasn't many, and you really couldn't tell it when you were eating the cake. But if I had to do it again, I probably would have sifted the sugar. But we're going to stir in the powdered sugar and cook it until it's thickened. And then we're going to remove it from the heat and add in 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and then let that set and cool. And lastly, we're going to do the marshmallow cream frosting. So for this, we need a saucepan, and we are going to put 1/4 cup of milk and 3/4 cup of sugar, and mix that together. And we are slowly going to bring that up to boiling. And then separately, in another double boiler, I'm going to put 2 heaping tablespoons of marshmallow cream and 2 tablespoons of hot water and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And we are going to stir that all together. Now once our milk and sugar comes to a boil, it says to boil for 5 minutes. So once it got to this stage right here where I could see little bubbles, I set a timer for 5 minutes. And the recipe did not specify if we were supposed to stir it or not while it was boiling. So I did stir it. I didn't stir constantly, but every now and then I did. We are going to add it to our marshmallow mixture slowly and stir constantly. And I'm going to remove it from the heat and take it over to the counter. And it says to beat until cool. You don't want the icing to cool down completely, because it does get like a firm kind of shell on top once it cools. Now that everything's done, I am going to layer the cake. I'm going to put one of the graham cracker cakes down. Spread our chocolate filling in the center. Top with the second graham cracker cake. And then on top of that, I'm putting our marshmallow icing. And the recipe does not make a lot of icing. You see, I only frosted the top, but it is very sweet. So I think that it was enough for the cake. And I really don't think you would have needed more to do the sides. But there is the finished cake. It was very good. My little girl and my kids and my husband, we all loved it. And I forgot to take a picture, or I forgot to take video of the cake once it's cut, but I'll add a picture here and a picture of it with the birthday candles. I thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.